Now we want you to gain a better understanding of structure. It's your turn to do something now rather than just be listening and watching. The following paragraphs have been broken up into Texas pieces. The topic sentences are in the right place, but the explanation, the examples, the analysis, and the summary have been mixed up. You need to read all pieces of the paragraph and decide which is the best sequence. And again, don't worry if you haven't read the text, which the paragraphs are about, just focus on what the writer is doing, what's happening in each section of the paragraph. So, number one, this is about Tim O'Brien's story, The Things They Carried. Again, the topic sentence is in the right place, it's the other sections that have been mixed up. The use of specific language is an important feature of the story, The Things They Carried. The use of different kinds of language helps the audience understand the characters and it develops themes. Official military language includes the standard operating procedures they had to follow and the P-38 can openers they had to carry, but the men also spoke about others who had been greased, offed, and zapped while zipping. Throughout the story, there is the strong use of military language, as well as unofficial language created by the soldiers. The unofficial language was created by the troops as a way of maintaining their sanity, and its contrast with the clinical official language highlights the difference between the official expectations of soldiering and genuine human feelings. This incongruity is present throughout the story, suggesting that humanity can never be truly reconciled with the war machine of the military. Now pause the video and record your answer, the correct sequence of those other 4 parts of the paragraph. So this is the most appropriate sequence for that material. Again, the topic sentence was in the right place. The use of specific language is an important feature of the story, The Things They Carried. Then our explanatory sentence. Throughout the story, there is the strong use of military language as well as unofficial language created by the soldiers. As I said previously, if there's categories of things to talk about, the explanatory sentence is a really good place to put them. Talks about military language and unofficial language. Okay, our topic sentence has indicated it's specific language. This paragraph is going to be about the specific use of language, and then there's some explanation about the 2 types. Here are our examples with the quotes. Okay, the military language and then some of the slang that they also use. And then here is the analysis, the explanation of what those 2 different types of languages suggest. Okay, it's about differences between expectations and the feelings of the people using that language. Okay, and then our second sentence here pushes the analysis to the next level. Okay, it suggests something about this issue or this theme. Okay, that there will always be a difference between humans and the Defence Forces in the mind of the author. And here we have our summary sentence, which wraps it all up. It helps the audience understand the characters and what they're going through and develops themes. It makes the readers think about this particular issue in different kinds of ways. Let's have another practice. So this paragraph is about Ray Bradbury's novel Fahrenheit 451. Again, the topic sentence is in the right place, but the other sections of the paragraph have been mixed up. Humanity's innate desire to be closer to nature in Fahrenheit 451 is satisfied through artificial means. Contrasting the animal characteristics of a real hound to an 8-legged Frankenstein-esque monster symbolizes how barriers between nature and technology have been distorted to create a replica of nature that evokes fear. Ironically, such mechanisms are designed to provide security. Through this, Bradbury conveys the idea that technology is emotionally destructive by turning a naturally emotive creature into a soulless killing machine. The mechanical hound also serves as a metaphor for society, as technology creates violent and empty creatures, devoid of anything natural. This can be seen in mechanical devices which are modelled after the natural world, such as the mechanical hound. Montag describes this creation as, "It slept but did not sleep, lived but did not live." The nylon brushed nostrils of the creature that quivered gently, its 8 legs spidered under it on rubber padded paws. This effectively communicates the author's message that an attempt to emulate the natural world through artificial means is futile and emotionally destructive. Bradbury utilises opposing motifs of technology and nature, indicative of the science fiction genre, to suggest that an attempt to emulate nature through artificial means is futile and only serves to isolate individuals from themselves. Now pause the video and record your answer of the best sequence for those sections. So, the most appropriate answers. Humanity's innate desire to be closer to nature in Fahrenheit 451 is satisfied through artificial means. We know from this topic sentence that it's about a conflict or contrast about in regards to nature and things being artificial. So Bradbury utilises opposing motifs of technology and nature, indicative of the science fiction genre, to suggest that an attempt to emulate nature through artificial means is futile and only serves to isolate individuals from themselves. So we have an explanation of how Bradbury is going to explore this, okay, that there are motifs used and that an explanation that trying to emulate or copy nature in an artificial way is pointless. It's not going to be achieved. Then we have our specific example of the mechanical hound. It slept but did not sleep. Okay, and then this student goes on to analyze that. Okay, makes reference to the 8 legs that this dog is supposed to have. Okay, it seems like a monster. And this dog symbolizes these barriers between nature and technology. Okay, and the fact that it evokes fear in the reader. Okay, the student then goes on to push the analysis further, explaining the fact that in the novel, the mechanical hound is supposed to provide security, but for the reader, we feel afraid. We don't feel secure. Okay. And finally, we have a summary sentence. This effectively communicates the author's message that an attempt to emulate the natural world through artificial means is futile and emotionally destructive. It's a little conclusion for this paragraph and drives home this student's point. Now, practice number 3. This is about Daphne du Maurier's short story Don't Look Now. Again, the topic sentence is in the correct place. It's the other sections you need to sequence appropriately. So the Gothic convention of setting is used to great effect in the story Don't Look Now. It gives the reader the impression that daytime in Venice is just a facade and prepares the reader for a dangerous and decrepit urban setting that is both chilling and uninviting. The story takes place in Venice. During daytime, the atmosphere is described as exuberant and colourful. However, at night, the atmosphere has been made more sinister. This description is typical of settings in Gothic literature. The buildings that appear full of life in the day in Venice, at night look decrepit and inhospitable. The place is darker and scarier, and this creates an eerie atmosphere. Tension has been developed because the reader now expects something frightening to happen. This is described by John, the protagonist, as he and his wife are walking at dusk. Now, ill-lit, almost in darkness, the windows of the houses shuttered, the water dank. The scene seemed altogether different, neglected, poor, the longboats moored to the slippery steps of the cellars. So pause the video and record your answer. So here is the most appropriate sequence for this paragraph. The Gothic convention of setting is used to great effect in the story Don't Look Now. We know from this topic sentence that the paragraph is going to be about setting and the effect of that setting. The story takes place in Venice. We've got some explanation about what specifically is the setting for this story, okay? And some brief description of what this setting is like. We have our specific example with a quotation, and we've got some analysis of that. A statement about the fact that it's typical, okay, and then explaining what the effect of that is. Okay, the place is darker and scarier, creates an eerie atmosphere for the author, and then pushing the analysis to the next step. What's the point of things being dark and scary and having an eerie atmosphere? It creates tension in the reader because we're expecting something scary to happen. And then a summary to round it all off. Okay.